Here at the Riverside at 8 o'clock. Steve McClaren, of course, leads his men after a turnaround in fortunes of late. Yakubu starts tonight, as does Gaizka Mendieta, as indeed does Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. Roma 2 are here. Damiano Tommasi, you may remember, former Italian international back from injury. They are led by coach Luciano Spalletti here at the Riverside. With me at the Riverside tonight, Robbie Earle, who played here on several occasions with Wimbledon, of course, and prior to his commentary duties, Jim Beglin joins us too. Now, boys, Middlesbrough have been inconsistent this season, as previously discussed, but their best performances have been against big teams, have they not? Yeah,
I worry less that they've got the Italians tonight. I think the type of team they've got, with the type of individuals in the team, will be lifted by you know, the occasion and the quality of the opposition. If you think they've beaten Arsenal, they've beaten Chelsea, and they've beaten Man United, yet they lose to West Ham, Charlton, and teams like that, you kind of think that, you know, these boys like a big stage, and it's going to be a big stage tonight.
Big stage, big game, big team, Roma, are they not?
Yeah, and that's why I just hope Middlesbrough get a real energy about their play early on and have a good intent about them. We've seen them start sluggishly on a couple of occasions, particularly Stuttgart before in the last round, and they need to overcome that tonight and you know, get at a team, unsettle them on a pitch that they might not quite fancy either.
No, indeed. We will hear a little bit more about the pitch directly, some team news and pitch news from Gabriel Clark, who's pitch side.
Well, with virtually a fully fit squad to choose from, Steve McClaren had a few personnel and tactical decisions to make ahead of what he calls is one of Middlesbrough's biggest European ties. And this is the 11 that McClaren has gone for. He's opted for 4, not 5 at the back, as some suspected. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank will play behind a lone striker, Yakubu. Roma are missing their talismanic Francesco Totti. Perotta, Tadai and Tommasi will support the frontman Mancini. Well, Roma are a counter-attacking team, revitalised by coach Luciano Spalletti. But his smile was replaced with a scowl yesterday when he saw the state of the Middlesbrough pitch. Roma didn't train on it. It wouldn't have been much fun either, with puddles peppering the muddy middle third. And from Emperor Spalletti at yesterday's press conference came a big thumbs down for Middlesbrough.
Sì, sono rimasto un pochettino sorpreso, lo aspettavo meglio, effettivamente diventerà molto pesante il campo e ne verrà fuori poi una partita molto più fisica che tecnica.
Well, the good news for Signor Spalletti is that the puddles have gone, although they're gradually returning because it's absolutely lashing with rain again now. It is going to be heavy going, but that's the way Middlesbrough want it. They've not been pampering this pitch. I suppose it's what you call using home advantage.
Indeed. There's been plenty of talk about pitches in recent weeks. This does look like it might end up being a bit of a pudding. Will that suit Middlesbrough and a 4-4-1-1, Jim?
Yeah, well, I mean, Middlesbrough can play a bit of football too,
yeah.
You know, so I don't think it's suitable for either, really. But I think, you know, if one or two of the Roma players are not going to fancy it, I think you've got to ask the question, you know, because it's all about attitude. You can have bad pitches, but you have to have a good attitude to overcome it, and one or two of them might not have it, so I think Middlesbrough have got to test that.
I'm pleased to hear the coach saying that, because, you know, if they start with a good tempo and get amongst them, a couple of the Italians might not just fancy it tonight, and if they get off to a good start, nick a goal early on, it's a chance to get on top of the game.
Now this 4-4-1-1, do you see Jimmy genuinely being a one behind a one, or will he join in really?
I see him one behind the forward. He's not really, for me, a fifth midfield player. No. What he maybe do will anchor one of the Italian midfield players back to hold him. So it might be that, you know, Steve's looking to counter-attack. But the interesting thing, again, is I don't think Middlesbrough are at the best when they force the play. I think they're better when teams come at them. But, you know, what they have got is people the likes of Yakubu. If they can get him the service, he's banging form. I mean, his record, 18 goals in the games. And yet he's still only 23 years of age. Yeah. There's still a lot more to come in between him and Jimmy. You know, he's got a real hunger and appetite for goals. And he
makes goals out of kind of nothing situations, really, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he gets all types of goals, Matt, which is a good thing. You know, he'll get a tap in as well as he'll get a good strike and a header in. And I just think he's right on top of his game, and with him and Jimmy linking, that's the threat.
Jim, I wonder if for Gaizka Mendieta there's something of a point to prove tonight. Of course, had a bad year at Lazio, who, as we know, with Roma, there's not a lot of love lost. So will he have extra motivation, perhaps?
I mean, before he ever joined Lazio, if you were picking a European team, he was probably in it, because he was sensational at Valencia, didn't have a good time, took a little bit of stick over there, and they haven't really seen the best of him. And when he is really on form, he's somebody who can run a game from start to finish. We saw it against Manchester United early in the season, not just dip in and out of it. And I think he can be very important tonight. If he's busy and prepared to get on the ball, take that responsibility, he could be a key player.
Yeah, £29 million he cost for Lazio. He may just want to repay the Roma fans a little bit this evening. After the break, we will reflect on what's been a largely lame week for British clubs in Europe, particularly the champions Liverpool, who limped out last night to Benfica. It's like a home away from Rome. It's a bit wet here at the Riverside this evening, but as the competition gets fiercer, so the fans are coming in ever greater numbers. Somewhere approaching 30,000 expected here tonight. The pitch does look like it's taking a bit of punishment under the grey skies. Middlesbrough, of course, take on Roma in the last 16 of the UEFA Cup. First leg here at the Riverside, kick-off at 8 o'clock. Ikubu starts for Borough with Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank tucked in just behind him. Now, when the draw was made for the last 16 of the Champions League, Liverpool looked to have the least to worry about of the 4 British clubs. And for long periods against Benfica in the and of course ended with Lazio, they were held, in fact, by a last-minute equaliser by Marco Materazzi to a 1-1 draw against Inter at the weekend, which brought their run to an end. So no Totti tonight, boys. Mancini plays up front for them, a fellow who wasn't always a centre forward, I think a Brazilian.
Started his life as a fullback, but as Brazilian as you expect, technically very good, comfortable on the ball, but he's obviously got an eye for goal. 10, I think, in his last 14 games tell you that he knows where the net is. He will play as a lone striker, but it's a type of situation.
He's not a bad striker.
You're right.
And now for a midfielder, of course, we know from days with Leeds and Everton, Olivier Dacour also can certainly produce a performance, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been a good player.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing him playing for Leeds, funnily enough, in Rome against Lazio. And he was absolutely outstanding that night. Centre of midfield, he had the lot. And I saw a different side to him that night. I think he'll play quite deep tonight. I don't think you see him venture too far forward. He'll just sit in front of his centre backs and just make sure he keeps everything nice and tidy. I think he has a good record here as well in his Everton and Leeds days.
Right.
I don't think he's ever lost here.
I mean, a bit like Borough, really. They are a counter-attacking side. They'll look to sit quite deep when they're given us particularly the pitch and just try and nick one.
It'll be interesting to see how it's played out, yeah, because in some respects it's Borough who've got a force of pace, and I don't think that's when they're at their best either. But the Italians will come here, they'll sit here, they're not happy with the pitch, it's raining, they'll say we'll keep it tight. If we take a 0-0, we'll take that back home with us. So,
yes.
You know, it's interesting how it goes.
Yes, if it's with that away goal thing, you just can't afford, from Borough's point of view, to let them nick one, can you?
Absolutely, and the thing is, I think Middlesbrough have to try and overcome it because they're good at that, Roma. If you let them settle and control the game and reorganise themselves quickly behind the ball, very, very hard to break them down then.
We shall see. Thank you very much to Jimmy. We'll join Peter Drury in the commentary box, but that moment just a few weeks back when a Borough fan threw his season ticket at Steve McClaren now seems a distant memory. Things are looking up. McClaren says he's looking up rather than down in the Premiership. And then there are the Cups, of course, starting tonight. Here is the Middlesbrough manager with Gabriel.
Steve, is this the biggest European night in Middlesbrough's history?
Yeah, it's one of them. We had a couple last season, but this is the first one this season. We've worked hard to get to this stage, and for us, Roma, you know, top side in Europe, and a big game.
How good are they? How big is your challenge?
It's a big challenge. The start of the game is going to be so important. You know, we need the crowd behind us, we need that atmosphere, so we need a good start. Against this Roma side, we need to set the tempo and set it high, get about them, and if we do that, then we set the tempo for the game.
How big a priority? I know we want a spectacle, but how big a priority is not conceding tonight?
I mean, we just talked about it, and whenever you play in Europe, and I've known over the years, to get a clean sheet at home, to go into the second leg, it's like an extra goal. So that's the important one. But we want to score, and we've said we want to be solid, we want the balance right, we want to be able to defend, but also to get that vital goal.
Good luck tonight.
Thanks very much.
Good luck indeed. The Middlesbrough fans have certainly seen some big wins here this season, amongst them very inconsistent performances, and they will hope for another one tonight. They're certainly up against a big team with a decent European pedigree in AS Roma. Middlesbrough will need to be at their best if they are to take the lead that Steve McClaren so wants. Back to Rome next week. The players are emerging, as you can see, from the confines of the Riverside, and live coverage of Middlesbrough against Roma is coming up next here on ITV4. on a wet night at the Riverside. It is quite possibly Borough's toughest test yet in the UEFA Cup. Roma are the tournament favourites. Borough have to get past them if they are to progress in the competition. High time we heard from our commentators. Jim, 2 for the price of 1 Peglin, and first Peter Drury.
Matt, thank you. Proper night, proper European night at the Riverside. This is why it's worth it. Striving to qualify, labouring through the unglamorous group stage, all for now. This is the night when the UEFA Cup delivers for Middlesbrough, and accordingly Steve McClaren has made a no-compromise selection. Bolder in theory at least than for the Stuttgart game here a fortnight back. 2 strikers, Hasselbank recovered from a heavy cold, the deeper of those 2. Yakubu, who has tended to be the one rested for these games, makes only his second start in this competition. Viduka, despite his excellent goal on Saturday, misses out. Back from suspension, Pogatetz is preferred to Kedru at left back, and Davis is in for the injured Parnaby at right back. Roma, as you've heard, the competition favourites and probably the informed team in all of the major European leagues just now. But they are an orchestra without a conductor, without a lead violinist, and without 1 or 2 other top brass. No Totti, Montella, Nonda, skipper De Rossi is suspended, and first-choice goalkeeper Doni also unfit. But major names do remain. You'll remember Panucci from Chelsea, Dacour from Leeds and Everton, and beware, as you have already been warned, the informed Brazilian Mancini up front. Big hitter of a referee tonight, Alain Sarr is one of France's World Cup candidates. George Boateng and Lee Catamol, by the way, Borough's central midfield pair, would miss the second leg if booked tonight. Question, has the Riverside known anything quite like this? The biggest home game in Middlesbrough's history. You can believe that or not as you choose, but it isn't my hype. That is the suggestion of many I've spoken to here who've watched Borough week by week for a lifetime. How big is this, Jim?
Big, and I mean, I think you can sense it with the atmosphere. You know, we've been here many occasions this season. I'll wait, Pete.
As Downing plays an early ball in, and Mexes had to be well stationed so that Tomasi can hurry it clear, and Mancini gets his first touch. Tomasi, the likeable but hard midfield player for Roma, asking Mancini to run early and run on what is evidently a very, very heavy playing surface. Out by Riggott, pursued by Hasselbank, who is clearly taking up a position, certainly when Middlesbrough don't have the ball, as effectively a 5th midfield player. And Mexes enables Schwarzer to calm the game down for the first time.
Yeah, I was just going to go on to say that, you know, we've been here many occasions this season, and you know, some of the attendances haven't been good. I mean, it's not quite full tonight, but you can really feel the buzz about the place. Different atmosphere here. No, it's a big occasion, and Middlesbrough need to get plenty of the ball nice and early to Yakubu and Hasselbank.
Catamol has presented it to Mancini, which isn't ideal. This is Karja, the French-Moroccan, who has been fouled. Steve McClaren has found his position up in the stand. It's been a boom and doom season for him and for Middlesbrough. Awful form up to the end of January. They've failed to win any of 10 Premier League games. Since then, they've won 4 out of 5. Quarter-finals of the FA Cup, and now aspiring to the quarter-finals of the UEFA Cup. Kufre, the left-back, preferred to Bovo. Couldn't keep the errant free kick in play. An Argentine in a Roma side with not a little South American influence. Davis's throw aimed at Gaizka Mendieta. And that is Luciano Spalletti, who turned 47 on Tuesday. He's the coach of AS Roma, his first season in charge. The 5th coach in charge of that club since Fabio Capelli left for Juventus in July 2004. Here is Yakubu with a first chance to run, and Downing fit again now with an opportunity to raid down the left-hand side. Hasselbank has made his way into the box. Panucci is covering. Perotta is there as well, and Downing has to settle for a throw.
I mean, again, he's somebody you'd like to shine tonight, because he can produce that great cross and that little moment of magic and create something out of nothing.
Aimed in a Hasselbank, the goalkeeper couldn't handle it. Panucci, with Perotta's help, affects the clearance. And Corci is still down. He's clearly taken a whack on the head. Middlesbrough are going to show no mercy. And Tadej had to see it out so that Gianluca Corci, who is already the second choice goalkeeper and who's been hurt by Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, can get some attention. I think Hasselbank was entitled to play for this.
Absolutely. I mean, it's spilled by the goalkeeper. It's difficult for him to get hold of, and you know, the contact is accidental. I mean, it's certainly not intentional from Jimmy Floyd. That's there to go for. No harm in a way, Peter. I know the goalkeeper's got a reasonable amount of experience, but he is young, and I think you've got to test him, see what he's made of in the early stages. Not quite like that, but
well, he is a fresh face. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank's been round the block a bit. Gianluca Corci, only 20 years old, and whilst he is the replacement goalkeeper with Dodi injured, he has in fact played the majority of UEFA Cup ties this year. Koufre failing to get onto the end of Kufor's clearance. Sami Kufor, who arrived in the summer for nothing after a decade and more at Bayern Munich. Tackle from Mexes. This is Tadej, Brazilian. Mancini, another Brazilian. Mexes, the Frenchman, leaves it. And the clearance is by the Argentine Koufre. Davis out, Boateng. Southgate, who's deserved more big European nights like this in his exemplary career. Catamol, who may have many in front of him. Boateng. Davis against Tadej. A Middlesbrough throw on the night of their 19th game of European football. Roma, this underlines what New Boys Borough are. Roma are playing their 199th. They have 10 times the pedigree. Boateng. Tadej for Mancini. Mendieta tackling.
Now, you're certainly right about the pedigree. I mean, and you look at Panucci, Cafour, Dacour, Tomasi. There's vast European experience amongst that quartet alone.
Experience that few of the Borough players can match. Boateng, of course, was in big-time European football with the Feyenoord for a while. Mendieta is the leader of the pack in this respect. Mancini's won his header. And Southgate has hoofed it clear. It would be a night, and the experienced former England centre-half would know this, a night for uncomplicated defending. You don't want to be stuck in the mud. Mexes with the ball forward, and Schwarzer came, but still needed. As Perotta bore down on his goal, assistance from his skipper Southgate, who ferried it behind.
That's naive defending. I mean, it's a cracking run by Perotta, but look at the space afforded to him. Schwarzer does well. You know, he made it more difficult for him, and Southgate's able to get it away.
Mancini awaits the corner. Schwarzer discomforted. Karja with it. Nudged out for Catamol to break. And Yakubu. And Catamol. And Borough have 3-on-3 here with Mendieta wide. And Downing arriving far side. Mendieta. He couldn't slip around Koufre. It is just a goal kick.
I think he was hoping for an obstruction. I think he realised he'd knocked it just a little too far in front. But it was a real let-off, wasn't it, for Middlesbrough before? But this is what you want to see, this fella on the ball. Let him try and orchestrate things, and he knew he'd overrun it and wasn't going to get there.
Kufo. Says going long, Mancini profiting. Tomasi wide, Perotta through the middle, Tadej waiting. Olivier Dacour, who never lost in 6 games of domestic football against Middlesbrough with Everton and Leeds. Presented it to Catamol, Yakubu. Has Boateng wide of him. This is George Boateng, who has Davis wide of him. Boateng shapes the cross, Kufor's header out. Distributed by Catamol. It's a good ball, but Davis has no way past Koufre. And there is a certain adventure about Middlesbrough, certainly on the break.
I mean, the pitch is going to cut up. It's not looking the greatest at the moment, but it's certainly a quick pitch. You know, it suits a pacey game, and it's what we're seeing.
Tackle from Dacour. Taken up by Houssine Karja. the Moroccan international. Now Panucci, whose CV is as immaculate as his turnout. He's played for most of the major clubs, it seems to me. Through by Simone Perotta.
Well, that wasn't the greatest ball from over the top just now, but this is some ball from Mexes. It's a great spot, wonderful delivery. It gets away from it a little bit and it tightens the angle, but you expected something better from him still. I mean, Southgate has done well to cover his goalkeeper, but really it was easy enough for him to clear. Shouldn't have been.
Yakubu, seen by Kufre. Catamol for Davis, two of several graduates of the Middlesbrough Academy, and they seem to keep coming. There's no club doing more in England just now to bring their own local youngsters into first-team football than Middlesbrough. Mancini, lovely touch. Taken away by Boateng.
I think, you saw the problem already with the Perotta run, and Catamol's got to be aware of that in behind him. And if he's not going to be able to get there himself, then he's got to communicate the problem to Southgate and rig it.
Panucci. Tomasi receiving from Dacour. Here is Perotta. Dacour. Spread for Kufre. He's hurried up by Francesco Mendieta, once of Lazio. Mexes. Muscling away from Boateng, but only hitting Pogatetz.
Well, after the pass he produced before, I'm surprised Borough let him have that little sortie out of defence again. Jimmy Floyd was the closest one to him. I think he's got to try and go to it and close it down at the earliest opportunity.
Mendieta, the fullback, sold himself, and Mendieta has played it through, and this is a chance for Hasselbank, who's got over the goalkeeper and has got a penalty. Now Corci isn't convinced. I wonder, let's see that again.
This is clever striking. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank knew the goalkeeper was committed and coming off his line. He saw it out of the corner of his eye, and all he did was just make sure he got the touch, and he's played for it. It's clever striking. I mean, the goalkeeper's gone out of his way to try and not make contact. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank has certainly fooled the referee on it. He's won it more than Kurchi giving it away.
Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank effectively put his hand in the air and said, "Ref, penalty, please." And he got what he asked for. Ayegbeni Yakubu has started, prior to this, one UEFA Cup game this season and scored in it. Inside the first 11 minutes of Middlesbrough's biggest ever European night. Yakubu, wonderfully called. And here the Riverside. This is what they've waited for. This is why they qualified. This is why they laboured through the pre-Christmas spell. And this is what Steve McClaren wanted. Yakubu has rolled Borough in front.
And this is what happens when you're full of confidence, because he's not going to try something like that, as nonchalant as that, without that kind of confidence. The scoring run he's been on this season. Easy. But it was all made by experience against naivety. The young goalkeeper against a very, very clever striker.
Ayegbeni Yakubu scored a goal on this ground against Dnipro in a game that had about a third of the atmosphere of this one. Mancini. Goal kick given. Bear in mind that this is a Roma team who have taken 35 points out of the last 39 in Serie A, who are a point off the Champions League positions in the Italian league. Who have almost forgotten how to lose, but they are behind now on a filthy night on Teesside. Yakubu, Hasselbank, who was canny in earning the penalty. And good luck to him, Jim, but, you know, there's a part of you that would prefer to think that Jimmy Floyd Hasselbaink would try and score a goal in that position. He might do here, he's offside.
Ooh, there's a late enough flag as well. Not quite sure about that. Great movement again. When this is played, yeah, he's just gone, hasn't he? Good call. But I mean, when this is played through to Jimmy Floyd, just watch, he knows the keeper's going to, he even waits a little bit. And I mean, I'm all against simulation, and when people take things too far, that's part of it, that's allowed.
Sure, no accusation of simulation, it's just very canny. It's very professional, and listen, it worked. And they're 1-0 up. And it's always good to see Jimmy smile, it's worth an extra floodlight. Here's Mexes. Kaja. Kufor got caught in the mud. Mexes. Mancini. And for Borough now, the requirement to keep a clean sheet will feel, well, it'll be all the more keenly felt. Yakubu, Hasselbaink, shifted wide for Downing, who can run at Panucci now and has Pogatetz going outside of him. And there's miscued horribly.
Shame, you blame the pitch. I would have. You're right, Peter. I think, you know, Middlesbrough at times this season have had problems with what do we do now when we're in this position, like when they had the lead coming back here from Stuttgart, started the game poorly. I still hope that they get the balance right. Obviously a clean sheet now is huge for them in the circumstances, but keep the ambition and adventure in the play as well. Got to.
Mexes seeking out Mancini, well won by Riggott. Back firmly by Downing, but dealt with well enough by Pogatetz. This will be awkward for Kufor. It's followed up by Boateng, it's followed up by Catamol. This could turn into a right old romp in the mud. D'accord is accused. Of course, he speaks the language of the referee tonight.
Yeah, he eased Boateng out of it. Knew what he was doing.
Downing playing it in, Riggott is forward. Riggott will settle for the throw.
Panucci's not happy with the referee, he wanted a free kick for that, felt he was pushed.
Quarter of an hour gone on the Riverside, it's flown by. Really good game, upbeat performance from Middlesbrough, who have produced upbeat performances when the big boys have visited them this year. Remember, this is a ground, and Spalletti, the wet and slightly beleaguered Roma coach may know this. This is a ground on which this season Manchester United, Chelsea and Arsenal have all been well beaten. It's also a ground on which Sunderland have won and Aston Villa have won 4-0. Who can make sense of Middlesbrough? They're doing the right things tonight. Here is D'accord. Protection from Pogatetz. Neat feet from Downing. Dispossessed by Mancini. Here's D'accord. Shifted through for Perotta. Held up for Tomasi. Perotta tried something extravagant. So it's up to Yakubu. Now Hasselbaink. Yakubu remained stationary, having taken a clatter.
I just wonder whether it was a flailing arm or something like that from Kufor. Yeah, big Ghanaian just gets his arm across and probably head made contact as well.
So Yakubu felt it. So he being a Nigerian doesn't have a World Cup ahead of him, but Kufor, the Ghanaian, does. In fact, of course, Ghana play against Italy in Germany this summer, which will be an interesting occasion for him. Mendieta fought for that really well and fed it up for Yakubu, whose first touch was neat. Downing, Pogatetz beyond him. Aimed in for Mendieta, he's got a corner. They really are nicking it about on an awkward surface with great authority here, and Mendieta is having one of his up nights.
Well, I think he'll want to prove to the Italians that he's got the talent. Didn't work out for him during the spell in Rome with Lazio, and you can see it. The attitude is really good for him tonight. He wants it.
3 years as a Lazio player, 2 of those were out on loan. Rigot waits for the corner. Southgate last man back. Drifted in by the skipper. Rigot is still forward. Korchu's handling was good. Actually, he has played in 6 of the 8 UEFA Cup ties prior to this one this season. Mancini, Tade. A decisive tackle from Mendieta. Support from Boateng. Gave it away to Dacor. Aimed through here for Mancini. He's gone down. Tade has crossed, and Southgate has nudged it clear. Downing from the left-back position.
Well, he seemed to get a good look at it, the referee, for a moment. I thought that Davis might have caught the Brazilian Mancini when it's played through. Yeah, there's enough on the ball, isn't there? He's done well, the youngster. That's a good touch.
Opportunity knocks again for young Andrew Davis, with Stuart Parnaby out of the mix again, only for a couple of weeks. Another of the good youngsters, McMahon, is on the bench tonight. Free kick against Tade, who's been in the goals recently.
But you can see already with some of the touches from the visitors, Roma are a side full of good spirit and full of belief with the run they've been on. Been some lovely little interplay between them, and it is a night for full concentration, full-out concentration for Burr.
Just a really good game at the moment.
Cracking start.
Tet's caught on it, Mancini. Kaja. He couldn't afford Perotta the return pass his adventurous run asked for. And now here is Downing to run again at Panucci, and right through Panucci. Kubu couldn't take it. We are going to have to offer the players some licence on this surface tonight. It rained all day yesterday and was in a pretty awful state this time last night. Most of today has been dry, but it rained for an hour or two before kick-off. And it's sticky, to put it kindly.
Yeah, I think you said before, particularly for defenders, it's not one for being indecisive. You've got to make your mind up quick, no nonsense, and get rid. If you try to turn on it and be clever, it'll catch you out.
Kubu trying to take the long way round Kufor. Korchu away. Taken back by Catamol. Drifted in by Downing.
It's a decent ball, you know. I mean, I think he's a little cross that somebody didn't attack the near post.
I wonder whether you think, Jim, it's too late for Stuart Downing, World Cup-wise.
You never know, Peter, what can happen. I mean, his attitude's got to be right, and he's just got to keep applying himself. He's probably still not back to his best after the injury he had, but other people get injured, you know. So it's worth his while to keep his head down, get on with it, and you'd never know. Something can happen last minute.
Roma do have, by the way, a pretty abject record against the English. In mainstream European competition, long before Spalletti's time, they have won only once on 10 trips to this country. There's Mendieta. Yakubu. Taken away by Mexes, somewhat uncertainly. Kaja. Tade. Perotta. Mancini ahead of him. Kept out of harm's way by Boateng. His work ethic has never been in doubt, and Mendieta's hit an ambitious ball for Yakubu.
That was the wrong option because Hasselbank had just peeled off, and it was a simple little ball inside for him to retain possession.
One occasion on which Roma did win in this country was a 1-0 victory at Anfield 5 years ago, and even that counted for nothing because Liverpool had won 2-0 in Rome. 10 trips to England, they've only ever scored 6 goals. Karcher. That's a smart ball. Tomasi. Not an easy handling night for goalkeepers, but Schwarzer was well positioned.
Great understanding between them. Watch some of the movement. I mean, I think Pogatetz could have been a little livelier here when this comes back inside him. It's good skill, good strength, and that just completely catches the fullback out. Not the greatest delivery in.
Kufur won his header. Hasselbank's onto it, and then scraped his shot.
I think it was the wrong choice then. I mean, it is on for him to hit, but Yakubu, again, it just... Watch the little run from Yakubu. Just inside, he could have slid him in comfortably.
Floyd Hasselbank turns 34 at the end of the month. Had a nasty cold at the weekend and missed the win over Birmingham. He has 20 European goals for 5 different clubs. That's Hasselbank.
I must admit, the game surprised me a little bit. I didn't think it would be quite so open and quite so geared towards attack. I thought it might have been much more cautious.
Kataman. Boateng. Hasselbank. He's presented it to Dacour. Boateng wants to win it back. Kurci for Tade. Regathered by Yakubu. Nicked out wide for Mendieta. Well seen away by Olivier Dacour.
That's great play. He spotted the danger very early and got out and did a good job there.
It was his rather puzzling throw. Yakubu didn't make the run he needed. Kufre hemmed in by Mendieta, and he's given possession away to Boateng. Yakubu looking to turn. I think the referee penalised him. Yakubu's puzzled. It's almost as if he played advantage anyway, because Roma are allowed to get straight on with the free kick, and here is Tade. Dacour. Thumped out again, no complication from Rigger. Quite right too. Kufur. Perotta for Tomasi. Perotta. Up in the air by Rigger. Davis ahead of Tade. Mendieta. Foul on him by Tade. The fullback's being asked over by Alain Sarr. He's a referee with whom you're likely to be familiar. His European engagements last season included a Milan derby and indeed the Stamford Bridge leg of the Chelsea-Liverpool Champions League semi-final. It's between him and Eric Poula to be the French representative at the World Cup this summer. They find out right at the end of March. Mexes. That's good tackle by Rigger. He's one of those just-do-it defenders. A defender who wants to defend. Nothing flashy, all common sense. Kufre.
Yeah, I mean, Gareth Southgate has spoken about Rigger and his contribution to things of late. I mean, Steve McLaren said, back to basics, no-nonsense stuff. Let's keep it tight, because with the players they've got up front, there's always a chance for Middlesbrough to nick one. They're a good partnership, those two now, Rigger and Southgate.
Good length with Schwarzer, out by Mexes. Through again by Southgate, came back to Boateng, little touch from Hasselbank. Here's Yakubu. Dacour has made a very good start to the game as a midfield shield for the back four behind him. Kufre. Tade. Cut in by Panucci. And then by Tomasi, who got helped over from behind by Pogatetz.
I think he knows. I mean, Middlesbrough working on that with Pogatetz. Sometimes he's just a little rash and he's a little anxious to get to things. Again, there was very little danger there. Didn't need to commit himself.
Mexes. Made by Southgate. Won by Mendieta. Yakubu. Nice, Downing. Yards into which he can run. Hasselbank ahead of him. Downing making strides himself. Now Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank is offside. And it's a criminal waste.
It is. I think the call looked right in the end. I mean, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank wanted it played earlier. He doesn't manage to get himself back in line, and the flag rightly goes up. I thought Downing might have gone on and hit it himself, because Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank's run, you know, just took the defenders back with him and just allowed Downing that extra bit of space to encroach.
Tade. Free kick against Boateng. I'll remind you, he's one of those on the 2 yellow cards.
He's done nothing there, has he? If it is him, well, the referee's penalised, it's unfair.
Mendieta was in more or less the same county as well, but neither of them was especially close to Tade. Glad he didn't get a booking that would have caused him a suspension because of that challenge. He has yielded a potentially dangerous free kick, though, which Tade has hit, which has been nudged out by Boateng for Yakubu, and now Downing with the left back again bombing beyond him, Pogatetz. Challenge from Decor.
He's been fantastic, Decor, so far. I mean, he's covered an awful lot of ground and he's making good challenges and winning possession back. His job tonight, but he's doing it well.
The man who's played an awful lot of European football, Olivier Decor. It's his 55th game in Europe tonight, the Frenchman. He was a UEFA Cup semi-finalist with Lens, lost to Arsenal back in the year 2000. Champions League semi-finalist with Leeds in 2001. Had a good reunion prior to the game with Franck Kedrou, Frenchman in Middlesbrough's 18 tonight. They were colleagues in that Lens team together at the end of the last century. Kaja, Koufre, touchback by Perotta.
He's the one that worries me. I mean, he had a cracking start to the game and his movement is superb.
Offside against Tade.
Just off.
Just a chance to suggest to you that you don't leave ITV4 after we go off air tonight, because on this channel, Joe Calzaghe, top of the world, a chance to see Saturday night's fantastic fight, if you haven't already, with new unseen interview material. If you didn't see that, it is a proper bout, make sure you do. And on the Sunday morning, as usual, 9:25, ITV1, the Championship majors on a proper game, Reading the leaders against Watford in 4th, and all of the Football League goals. Davis was eased into touch by Tade. He's being invited for a word by the referee.
Might be just a little sign of frustration on his part. I mean, there's no need for him. That's clumsy, silly challenge.
Riggott is getting up into the penalty area here. Pogatetz is already forward. Mendieta's ball in. Regathered by Downing. And then spooned into the arms of the goalkeeper, Corci.
Yeah, Pogatetz very strong. That's what he's good at. He has that aggression about him always.
Boateng, who's doing for Middlesbrough what Decor is doing for Roma.
I mean, the only thing you'd quibble about a little bit, to be very critical of Middlesbrough, is just that final ball at times, because they've had good possession and chances to pick someone out, and they've not always done it. And that's probably another generous decision on the referee's part. Took his eyes off it, didn't quite see there wasn't much contact.
Lifted forward by Rigger. Panucci and Downing both deliberately let it go, as if to suggest that the throw-in would be theirs. Downing made the right call. It is a Middlesbrough ball. Panucci once of Milan and Madrid, as well as Chelsea. Yakubu has turned it back. Catamol didn't get there. Boateng!
I thought he should have done a little bit better. I mean, we speak about that repeatedly when players come onto a ball like this. You know, first thought in their head should be get over it, make sure you're going to keep it down, because you can get a little deflection go your way, and that was wild.
Steve McClaren must be uplifted by what he's seen so far. 22 years ago this week, while Roma were crushing Dynamo Berlin en route to their famous European Cup final against Liverpool, Steve McClaren was playing for Hull City against Bournemouth, en route to 4th place in the old 3rd division. That's how far he has come in his footballing life. He holds a lead over Roma now. Tade. Mexes thought about it, thought better of it, located Decor, who's done little wrong on the night, but who took one club too many with his little wedge forward there. Panucci. On by Karja, flags up. Tomasi was right under the nose of the assistant referee.
Yeah, another very tight one as well. I'm not sure that is. I think that could be a bad call. Looks as if he's in line at least.
Nelly Viano kind to Middlesbrough on that occasion. 2 or 3 increasingly high-profile female officials who are making their way up the UEFA ladder.
I think that would be very pleasing for the manager. We spoke about the need to keep a clean sheet, and I think really since that bright opening from Roma, I think Borough have looked fairly comfortable. I mean, they seem to be much more disciplined, tracking the runners better, and Roma haven't been allowed to produce some of the early touches we saw that were a bit scary.
Middlesbrough have kept 3 clean sheets in the last 4, 5 in the last 7, since they capitulated on this ground against Aston Villa very early last month. Only Stuttgart have scored against them. Decor went over, the French referee waved it on. Perotta kept it rolling for Panucci. Faced only by Downing, now Tomasi. Panucci. Karja. Kept out of harm's way by Southgate, who disputes that he committed a foul there.
I think there's contact, but I think maybe he feels that Karja's gone down a little quickly. I think he's right to. It's a soft decision again.
It is a free kick and not a throw-in. It's one of very few occasions on which Roma have had the chance to get their centre-halves forward, and there is the pair of them, Kufor and Mexes. It will be Tade's delivery. And there's going to be a hold-up because there are a few little subplots developing inside the Borough box. Riggott has been summoned. Sarr is indicating he wants a good clean bout. Mexes part of the conversation too. And now Tade re-prepares. Tadej's delivery, Mexes up, Riggott did well. And Jimmy Ford-Hasselbank did the safe, sensible thing.
He did, but you're right, Riggott, very, very good. He stuck very closely to Mexes, didn't allow him anything free, and if in doubt, get it out.
Tadej again. Panucci's still a threat, Pogatet's close to him, both centre-halves forward too. Tomasi. Tadej. Into the air by Catamol. And Perotta's shot was a scuffed effort. And who speaks a bit of English, he was actually born and brought up in the Manchester area. His mum and dad ran Yates's Wine Lodge in Manchester during his childhood. Steve McLaren. Whose season has turned round over the last couple of months. Matt was mentioning at the top of the show how long ago it seems now that they were throwing season tickets at him. He's looking at the top half of the Premiership. He's got a chance of a good domestic cup run, and he has a lead against the competition favourites here in the UEFA Cup. Foul against Mexes.
Well, in the same way that the win over Chelsea did wonders for turning things around in the Premiership and the FA Cup, of course. I mean, imagine overcoming Roma with a better scoreline than it stands at the moment. I mean, certainly increased their belief towards going a lot further in this.
At this stage last year, Middlesbrough went out after a goal-filled home game against Sporting Lisbon. They lost 3-2 on this night last year. They have a lead here, they have a free kick. They have Stewart Downing over it with a left-footed in-whip. Clearance was by Karja. Helped on its way by Koufre, pursued by Mancini. Karja through the middle, and Perotta. And Boateng and Downing got back really well to shield the Borough box.
Brilliant from Boateng. I mean, he was second favourite big time then and still managed to get something strong on it.
D'accord. Koufre. Karja. Come on. Broken from Mendieta. He got helped over, and the referee may have to go to his pocket here in respect of Simone Perotta.
Probably one he could have avoided. I mean, the referee again got a good view, and as Mendieta stepped away, legs, he's just clipped his ankle.
First official caution of the night. I think suggests the referee's applying a degree of common sense to an awkward situation for the players. Southgate's free kick, well read by Corci. He's looked a pretty mature goalkeeper for one who is only 20. Mancini. A free kick into the last 3.5 minutes of a first half, which, should it end this way, would be deemed hugely satisfactory for Middlesbrough. I'm sure as the second half grows older, we'll start asking questions about what they need to take with them to the Olympic Stadium. But for now, this will do. Panucci's set piece. Mexes jumping back stick. Kufor is in the mix as well, and that leaves Roma light at the back if Mendieta could break. Not so.
Yeah, I mean, Middlesbrough, as we approach half-time, not taking any chances. Everybody was back for it, hence the fact that there was no option available once they came out with the ball.
Over the course of this season, Spalletti's team have won away to Inter Milan, they've won away to AC Milan, they've won away to Juventus, they've come to Middlesbrough and they are behind.
He needs to see more, Spalletti, doesn't he, from the likes of Mancini, Tadej, Perotta, who had you know, I thought started very well.
Noisy bunch of fans, only 400 or so of them have made the trip from Tiber to Tees.
I think, you know, at times, I mean, Middlesbrough have had a decent chance of getting somebody else in and have either taken the wrong option, made the wrong decision, or, you know, let themselves down with a weak pass. Crossing could be a little better. I'd like to see Downing and Mendieta more involved, more on the ball.
Kubu, Hasselbank. Panicky clearance from Perotta, one aerially by Catamol, dealt with by Dacour. Nastily miskicked by Pogatetz. It's a foul on George Boateng. Sal wants it taken from the right place, the right mud bath out of which George Boateng emerged there.
I think you're right as well, Peter. I think the referee has tried to help the game at times because he's looked for the advantage if he can play it, and I think he's very aware of the conditions. One or two soft decisions he's made, but I think most referees would have given the spot kick as well in the circumstances.
I think it's a free kick beyond Yakubu. Mind Middlesbrough will be happy for the first half to peter out now, wouldn't they?
Big time. I mean, to go in 1-0, I think you said it, highly satisfactory from Steve McLaren. I think he'll be very happy with that. Just kind of reorganise one or two little things he's probably spotted that they need to be concerned about. And as I said, I think he probably will mention the fact that just a little more care in that final third and you're in again.
Forward by Kufre. It reached Tomasi, somewhat perilously from Borough's point of view. Calmly dealt with by Southgate, as you've come to expect. Hit long by Downing. Dacour again is the shield. Panucci forward, Riggott out. There's only 1 minute to be added on at the end of the 45, but during it, here are Roma attempting to impart pressure. Downing for Yakubu. He tried to wriggle away from Kufor and was caught from behind. He's got a free kick.
And that kind of thing has to go on second half. I'm not talking about the free kick, but watch the first touch when it's played in. Brilliant, wonderful control, and he buys that.
Catamol. Heaved forward by Southgate. Last touch was Panucci's. There's not time for the corner. Little matter. It has been an excellent first half for Middlesbrough. Yakubu with the most calmly converted penalty, a penalty cannily won for him by Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. But beyond that, Middlesbrough have certainly been the dominant force. Corci has certainly been the busier goalkeeper. And Teesside hands are stinging with applause as Middlesbrough go back in to congratulate them on an excellent first half's work. Upcoming our competition, you can win a trip to the UEFA Cup final. It's where Borough plan to be, leading as they do at half-time over Roma by 1-0. And this is a chance for Hasselbank, and it's got a penalty. Wonderfully called.
Middlesbrough, one up then against Roma at half-time here at the Riverside, and so far so good, Robbie.
Yeah, I did say that I fancied them a little bit. I think that they do lift the game, and they've played really well. I had a little scare right early on, but having got over that, they've bossed the game, they've created one or two chances, and now it's just, to me, it's as important about keeping the clean sheet as it is about getting a second.
Better 1-0, fine, but
I'd
don't
take
go
1-0 at this point and say, you know, the pressure's on Roma then to come out, and that might just suit Middlesbrough away.
Now, we wondered how Jimmy Floyd would play in this kind of position off the striker.
Yeah.
as a striker, really, he's ended up winning a canny penalty.
Well, what's happened when Middlesbrough get in possession, he becomes a second striker, and you'll see that they work the ball down the right, and Mendieta, who's got this wonderful ability to still be able to almost conduct a game from wide, he just feeds one through to Jimmy, and this is all about experience, Matt. Watch what happens. He as the ball's played, he holds his run here, waits for the keeper to come, and then just knocks it past him. And it's a telling sign for me. The keeper puts his hands in the air. That tells you he's caught him. And
it's definite contact. It's a penalty for you.
He's drawn the contact, Jimmy, and that's good play. And people might say he's dived. That's not a dive. That's knowing what you're doing. And
what about this?
Well, I talked about waiting as well. Yakubu just waits and waits and waits. Lets the keeper make his mind up, and that's confidence. That's when you're in a good vein of form. You feel that, listen, whatever he does, I'm going to stick it in the back of the net.
Well, they look great when they go in.
Not so good when not.
No, touch the Dwight Yorks about that one. Now, we picked out also Olivier Dacour as perhaps a linchpin for Roma, and so it's proved he's really been there standing out for you.
He has, yeah. He's almost, if I say Makalele, I think we know exactly what the role we're talking about. The one who sits in front of a back four, does a job, stops people getting into the heart of the defence, and he's done it well. He's also used the ball well. I mean, that one's just about the right side of legal. Slightly two-footed, but the experience that we know he's brought to the game, and he's been the anchor that's given Roma a little bit of stability in there.
Now, before and after the goal, we've seen, despite perhaps the heaviness of the pitch, that Roma, when they get their triangles and patterns moving, can be dangerous.
Well, it's a night that suited Middlesbrough, not necessarily suited Roma, because their passing is there. I mean, this is an incident. Pallotta's in the middle of the picture, just about to make a run now. To me, a midfield player's got to pick him up, or one of your centre-halves has to deal with him. None of the two happening. They get a little bit lucky that the ball slightly gets away from him and Gareth's able to get in, but lack of communication. Either somebody picks him up from midfield, or because they've only got one up front, one of the centre-halves has got to be aware. They get away with it, fortunately, but we saw little instances of Roma clicking it together. The passes were put down the right-hand side. I think it's Tomasi who gets in, and there's just enough there to know that this team, maybe with a slightly better service or a little bit of luck, can still pose a threat.
Yes, which of course is to be avoided at all costs. 1-0 will do, 1-1 is not what we want. The second half will be coming up shortly. After the break, we will have a competition for you, including cash and UEFA Cup final tickets. As a Borough fan, you just might want those. 1-up at half-time.
Thank you, Matt. They wanted a rocking Riverside tonight. They've got it. The chairman, Steve Gibson, asked for the fans to show their Teesside pride. Those fans have come up trumps. The team has so far come up trumps for the fans. Right, it's about time England prevailed over Italy, certainly in this season's European competition. The Italians overall are faring a great deal better than the English. Each nation began with 7 clubs in the 2 competitions. England have just Arsenal and Middlesbrough left. Italy have 6 of their 7 left, only Sampdoria having been knocked out. Still Juventus and Milan and Inter in the Champions League. Udinese are playing Levski Sofia tonight. Palermo are playing Schalke tonight. And Roma are here. England has lost a lot this week. It has Arsenal to be proud of, and it has Middlesbrough to be proud of. And the chaps were saying at half-time, Jim Beglin, that Middlesbrough would satisfy themselves with 1-0. I wonder whether in a strange sort of a way Roma might as well. Is 1-0 a mutually satisfying scoreline?
Yeah, it'd be certainly good for Middlesbrough, and it wouldn't be the worst scoreline in the world either for Roma to take back. But I just think Roma are going to have more to say about this yet, Peter. When you've been on the sort of run they're on, you don't lose lightly. There's great spirit in the camp, we know that. And that's why I think it's huge now, second half. At Southgate, Riggett, Boateng are all very, very prominent. And, you know, take on every responsibility, keep a vigilance and a focus about Middlesbrough.
Kufre forward. Dacour ties at the back of Yakubu. Darling claiming rather hopefully that the throw-in might be his. It hasn't turned out to be so. And here's Panucci, perhaps initiating Roma's first attack since the break. And that is a smart ball for Kaja. Repelled by Pogatetz. Chance for Boateng to counter with Mendieta steaming up to his right. Yakubu to his left. Hasselbank holding that deeper position. And Davis now from full-back on the far side. Mendieta. Davis. forward by Kufre. Karja. Kufre. Now seen by Rigger. Neat touch from Catamon. Rolled forward by Boateng. Seen by Dakor. Taken back by Catamon. With Yakubu ahead of him. And down in wide, Catamon! He's not short of confidence, this boy, 19 years old. Only his second game of European football, only his 13th game in the first team colours of Middlesbrough. But his eyes lit up and he had a swing.
I think he was right to hit it. I think he realised as well he had Downing. He's had a little look either side, and I think he thought in the end, why not? Just got across it a little bit. But it was a good little gamble on him initially to make the run and pick possession up.
And the Etis ball forward seen by Kufor. Start of the night tonight. Roma 9-2 favourites. Steve McLaren's Middlesbrough, one of 4 or 5 clubs clutched together on 12-1. Ahead of them in the betting, Seville 6-1, Hamburg 7-1, Schalke 8-1. Problem here as a result of Karja's challenge on Boateng, who fell awkwardly and had a foot sort of rooted behind him.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Karja just fell on his heel, and maybe just twisted his ankle a little bit or something like that. It's hard to say. Well, you really, on a night like tonight, you hope it's not serious.
Just going to nip down to the touchline where Gabriel Clark has some half-time developments to share with us. Gabriel?
Yes, Peter, you wondered whether Middlesbrough were going to stick or twist. Well, having spoken to their assistant manager, Steve Harrison, they want another goal, don't worry about that. They want a repeat, says Steve, of the first 20 minutes of the first half when they played with that high tempo, when the service to Yakubu via Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank was especially good. They're creating more chances than they thought against Italian opposition. So they're not sticking at 1-0 just yet.
Thank you, Gabriel. Is that what you would have thought, Jim?
Yeah, is right. I mean, I commented on that in the first half after they scored, to keep that ambition and that forward threat in their play. You know, good adventure about them.
Oh, I don't like the way George Boateng's moving, and in an unglamorous way he's been doing a super job for Steve McLaren tonight. He's matched Olivier Dakor, and as the chaps were saying at half-time, Dakor has been the standout player for Roma. Dorivar is on the Middlesbrough bench and would be perhaps the likely candidate to come on if Boateng can't carry on, but he's tough cooking, a Dutchman, and these are important high-profile games for him because he's right on the cusp of the Dutch squad for the World Cup. He won his 4th cap against Ecuador last week. Holland won. Van Basten appears to like him. Hasselbank, another Dutchman, has won it for Mendieta. Taken away by Mancini. Catamol doing the covering. Boateng's still not moving properly. He's going to have to run this off quickly, or he's going to have to give way.
That's why I wonder whether it was a little twist or something. You know, you take a knock, you can run it off. If it's something more serious like that, then it's difficult.
And Ray Parlour, of course, is another potential replacement who's missed so much of the season, and of course who has so much European experience. He was in an Arsenal team that played against Roma quite a few years back. Here's Tadej. Riggott backpedaling, and he did really well to stand his ground there, Chris Riggott. Again, mature, authoritative defending. Yakubu tried to turn away from Mexes. Kufor. Mexes drifting it forward. Tadej competing. Riggott wanted, but Pogatet's a little panicky and turning it behind under little pressure for a corner.
You're right. I mean, but unless he got, you know, a definite shout, then he's better off doing that if he's unsure.
Tadej to the near post where it got its flick. Inadvertent, it might have been, I think, possibly from Boateng. Mexes. Certain anxiety inside the Riverside now. Middlesbrough haven't begun the second half quite as convincingly as they ended the first. Kufre. Panucci. Aimed in early for Tadic.
It's a strange header, that. I mean, you would have thought he would have been looking to just help it on its way, far post. I think the concern is still there as well for Boateng.
Greater concern for Luciano Spalletti, who guided Udinese to fourth last year in Serie A, an achievement akin to that of David Moyes at Everton.
It's great to see Ray Parlour back in, potential action as well, Peter, but you would have thought Doriva, because of the fitness, an ideal replacement if Boateng does have to make way.
Although there were mutterings, Jim, before the game that Doriva may not be 100% fit. Kufre's ball in. Tade did win his header. Pogatetz under pressure from Tomasi. Mancini tackled by Catamol, importantly.
Looks nervy, doesn't he, Pogatetz?
Mexes. In by Panucci. Out by Rigger. Downing. It's been an unsettling couple of moments for the Austrian. Panucci.
Yeah, a couple of times now the ball's come to him, and he's in a lot more space than I think he's aware of, and he should be dealing with it more comfortably, but he looks very edgy.
Manuel Pogatetz preferred tonight to Franck Cadreux in the left-back position.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously thinks Tomasi's a lot closer to him, and that's not accomplished, is it? I mean, I don't really want it, anywhere will do, but he could have been steadier.
Panucci. That's better from Pogatetz. Throw in last off Perotta. Yakubu. Aimed it at Mendieta. Set back for Hasselbank. He liked the way it was teed up for him. He wasn't so pleased with the way he got under it, but it was sharp from Burrett.
It was very well executed. I mean, this little ball in from Mendieta, that's a clever touch to just lay it off and be aware of who's coming onto it. And when he hits them, Jimmy, they stay hit, don't they?
I wouldn't have thought that the electronic scoreboard at that end of the Riverside ground has been in such peril very often. It's the 11th season that Borough have played in this smart ground, and the scoreboard has really looked prettier than that. Middlesbrough 1, AS Roma, one of the blue chip clubs of European football, 0. These are the nights Middlesbrough have long aspired to. Catamol, Mendieta, who lost his only Rome derby as a Lazio player. Panucci. Oh, well done, Pogatetz. He's refound his footing.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, somebody could have had a little word, maybe Southgate, just, steady it a little bit, get a little more control in your play, and he has.
Interesting investigating the claim that this is the biggest game Middlesbrough have ever played at home, or possibly just the biggest they've ever played at the Riverside. There have, of course, been League Cup semi-finals, promotion deciders, relegation deciders. But for glamour, it's certainly right up there. And Borough seem unfazed by the big names who've come to visit them. Kuffour, who has played in 2 Champions League finals. One of them for Bayern against Mendieta's Valencia.
Well done, young Davis. I mean, that's a good shout, because Mancini's gone that side second half to his more natural position. Tadej slipped into the middle, and they're maybe going to try and work the young lad, try and exploit that inexperience.
Kaja for Mancini. And now Kufre, held up by Tadej. Well seen by Catamol. And then swept out by Southgate and gathered by Hasselbank, with Yakubu wide of him. Mendieta through the middle. Yakubu, it's too much on it. And Kufre watched it back.
That's what I was talking about in the first half, Peter, about that need just to have a little more caution in that final ball. They've had a few opportunities like that where they could have created something a lot better, and it's just gone a begging again.
Southgate's header out. Downing. It's back for Tomasi. Played it early towards Mancini. Comfortably handled by Schwarzer.
I think he's made a little impact on things, really, Tomasi. You know, if Spalletti's going to try and change things, then wouldn't be surprised if he makes way at some stage.
Tadej. Southgate certainly in charge there. Catamol. Davis. Boateng. Mendieta wants it. He could get it here. Gaitska Mendieta looking for quality and looking for Yakubu, and only finding Kufre.
Excellent footballer. And all started from the youngster in middle midfield, Lee Catamol. It was great work from him.
Mendieta, nice touch. Boateng. And still, an ambitious drive. Didn't quite sit for George Boateng.
It's a couple of times he's had a pop. I mean, it's good skill. That's clever to get away from his men, and he made his mind up very early. He wanted to try and get something in.
Did score the very first goal of this European run for Middlesbrough, George Boateng, against Xanthi way back in September. Tadej. Panucci forward. This is Perotta. Aimed in at Mancini. And manful defending for Middlesbrough again from Chris Riggott.
Still had to get it right, because it's come across from Perotta with real pace. And if Riggott doesn't time this right, it could easily squirt off his leg and go past Schwarzer. That's good defending. Still think he's very, very clever, Perotta. He takes out great positions. His movement is astute.
Before the corner, in a sense, an extraordinary change here by Roma, who are throwing on Stefano Okaka-Chuka, who at 16, in place of Tadej, became at the start of this UEFA Cup season the youngest Italian ever to appear in Europe. He is the youngest current Serie A player. He is a striker who has scored just one goal in the first team this year in a domestic cup tie. Okaka on for Tadej. Kaja's corner. Southgate's excellent header out. Catamol. Kufre.
Great aggression from Catamol again.
In by Kufre. Excellent determination from Mendieta, and look at the acreage that Hasselbank has. With Steve Harrison waving him forward from the technical area. Yakubu looking to get in behind Perotta, and Pogatetz was imparting pressure as well. Finally away by Perotta to Boateng. Catamol. Terrific vigour about this Middlesbrough display. Pogatetz.
Nice composure there as well, present on the ball, which is required from him. I think sometimes it's an area where they could do more, just that possession retention.
Catamon. Raised ball forward, held up by Okaka.
To be honest, there was a tackle by Mendieta on Okaka a few moments ago that looked more punishable than that. And Mendieta committed himself from quite a way, but I know we're further away than the referee, but he seemed to get something on it.
The ball went spinning away, Okaka went spinning over him. Mendieta might justifiably claim the tackle was clean. In by Mancini, the flag is up. Panucci's header will count for nothing. It struck the bar anyway. The only goal Christian Panucci scored in the colours of Chelsea was actually in the UEFA Cup. It was during that period in Chelsea's history when they used to lose regularly to lesser teams than Barcelona. And a tie against St. Gallen of Switzerland, which became rather infamous for that club at that time. D'accord. Shifted wide by Perotta. Tomasi.
No, but when you see D'accord being able to take his time like that on the ball, anchoring the midfield, and you really need Yakubu or Hasselbank just to kind of make a little dart towards him, put him under a bit more pressure.
Notices cushion clearance beyond Mendieta, taken up by Metzes. Now D'accord. Kufre, Perotta, rolled in for Karja, back for Mancini, Perotta, Mancini, good move this! And a snappy shot that wasn't so very far off target.
Well, you knew there was more to come from them at some stage, and that was lovely football, cracking stuff. I mean, the pitch has caused them no problems then. Mancini's movement is excellent, and you know, I don't think Schwarzer was expecting that. I know it's well wide in the end, but I'm not sure had that been inside that he would have got there.
That was some of the most coherent football of the game so far.
That's why they moved him wider, because, you know, he wasn't really seeing much of the first half, Mancini, and I think they need to work him in more.
Well, in the first instance, when Totti got injured, and they still had Montella, it was Montella playing through the middle with Tade one side of him and Mancini the other. But needs must.
You don't see many players who started their careers full-back doing that sort of thing, do you?
And I guess he saw the queue of Brazilian right full-backs and decided it might be best to shift position. Behind Cafu and Cicinho. Oh, there's a few strikers as well. Here's D'accord. Karja. Well, strictly speaking, by the way, historians would have it pointed out that this isn't the first meeting of Middlesbrough and Roma. They were drawn together in the 1970 Anglo-Italian Cup. Just less than 15,000 saw them at Ayresome Park, and John Hickton scored the goal that won the match for Middlesbrough. There'll be people of a certain age remembering him. D'accord. A decent ball for Mancini, who can tease Davis here. The young full-back is determinedly sticking to his task, and hasn't he done well? Stayed on his feet, never dived in, kept his eye on the ball, and now has distributed sagely as well for Mendieta. Hasselbank prepared to work for it. Downing in space now, Yakubu waiting, and Mendieta. Here's Hasselbank. Hasselbank, why not? Stung the palms of a shocked goalkeeper. Yakubu just slithered, and Metzes can see it away, only for a throw.
Well, I don't think he saw it as early as he would have liked, Crucci, but it was sheer power and the fact that it dipped and hit the ground before him that made it so difficult, and he had no control over where this was going. He's happy to get anything on it.
did move devilishly through the air.
Might have just got a little nick off Tomasi as well.
It was certainly worth Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank having a pop. Kufor's header out. Kaja further clipped. Hirota came to get it. Shouts of handball from the Borough fans on that side. Southgate's header back into the mix. Mexes. Kaja. D'accord. Tackle from Hasselbank, foul.
But you know, I'm happier though, because I said before, one of them should be looking for that all the time. Don't let him settle on it. Get there.
Kufor. Tomasi. What an away goal would mean to Roma.
I think the two young lads as well, Catano and Davis, come into their own. Shown great maturity tonight. Davis with the tackle before and denying Mancini, and this fella has been everywhere. I think he'll be a little concerned now, Spalletti.
And every reason so to be. 11 Serie A wins in a row until last Sunday's draw against Inter. And they were a couple of minutes away from a win on that occasion as well. During the course of that run, they did lose one leg of a domestic cup tie to Juventus, but they won the other. They're not doing a lot wrong. They're nobody's fools. They are behind at Middlesbrough. 400 of them and 25,000 Middlesbrough fans. It is the best attendance in this competition this year. They had just more than 24,000 against Stuttgart 2 weeks ago. It doesn't match the 33,000 plus that came to watch the other Roman club Lazio in November of 2004. But it's a step in the right direction after those echoey nights against Dnipro and Litex Lovec. Sets up the prospects of some second leg in the Olympic Stadium if it stays this way.
I'm sure they'll point to the fact that, you know, their talisman Totti is not there, and he can produce those moments of magic. He's a match winner, and it's nights like this you want him.
Okaka. D'accord. Tomasi for Okaka.
It was on.
Youngster saw the pass but couldn't execute it. Mendieta ran into D'accord, who gave him a bit. Stayed to apologise. Mendieta was hoping for rather more than just an apology. Wondered whether the Frenchman left a foot in here.
He did. He's made a couple of peculiar decisions, and I think he could have awarded that Mendieta's way. Mexes thought Mendieta had stayed down, and he played the ball out, not realising it. Spaniard was back on his feet, and
it all gets a bit confusing. Who's intended to be sporting to whom? Anyway, we're going to restart in a meaningful sense with a Roma throw here.
It's a foul throw through, it looked like.
D'accord. Okaka. Got a kick from Rigger. I think Roma would have been happier for advantage to be played.
He's just a little too quick for him, gets the touch, and he has caught him, Rigger. It's a bit of a delayed reaction from Okaka, but he did catch him.
And it's sparked a degree of animation amongst several players who got round the referee pretty quickly. Rigger's been booked for the original challenge. And that, I think, is where it ends.
And I think it might have been the collective reaction on Roma's part that got him that yellow. I don't think the referee was going to flash that at him until they all responded.
Less than 20 minutes to play at the Riverside. Borough with a proud 1-0 lead, but Mexes with a free kick for Roma. Aimed in at Okaka. Rigot got his head on it, and Schwarzer got his knuckles on it, and made good his clearance.
Good decision, because it's one of those that if he tried to catch it, he could have lost his balance and spilled it, so he got that right.
Mancini handled. And that was good work by the referee's assistant, who indicated quickly. So Roma are preparing another substitute here. He is the 26-year-old Honduran international, Edgar Alvarez, who is replacing, as you had suggested, Jim, Damiano Tomasi, who yields the captain's armband and yields his place on the right side of the Roma midfield. Panucci is now the skipper. This is Alvarez's first season around the Roma first 11.
No, but it's a reaction from Spalletti that tells us he wants a goal, because, you know, Tomasi, little impact, and he just wants it balanced up. Mancini's doing a bit more on the left-hand side, and he needs a little more energy on the right.
Boateng's ball forward was well read by the Hasselbank-Yakubu combination. I think the pair of them were a little surprised not to see a flag, but I have a feeling also that the assistant got that right, because Kufor was deep. Here is Mendieta, intending to find Yakubu, but off balance as he delivered.
Thought he could have played it earlier, Mendieta. Could have slipped Yakubu in.
Forward by Perotta, held up by Okaka. Gathered by Mancini. Tackle from behind was by Boateng, and the referee's given a free kick.
Personally, I think it's wrong, because yes, it's a tackle from behind, but I think Boateng sees enough of the ball to the side, and that's all he's got eyes for. Plays it, there you go.
It's a very, very good tackle. It's a very good tackle.
Controversial big time if they score off this now, Roma.
Not even controversial, Jim. Wrong. Wrong.
Yeah, that's another way of putting it.
But a free kick in a position of huge potential for the Romans. Schwarzer constructing his wall. Mancini will concern him. Kharja, the Moroccan, has been known to hit them from here. Kufor gives it the hammer. And Mexes, the other centre-half, is also in and around the business area. Mancini or Mexes? Only one man now, the Brazilian. Mancini into the wall. Really rather lame. And Borough can charge this out, and Yakubu has got it rolling. And has Mendieta ahead of him, and Boateng ahead of him, and Pogatet's ahead of him, and Downing wide of him here. Stuart Downing for Borough on the break. Pogatet's looking for quality with the cross. He found Downing. Kufor got himself in a tangle, and Panucci lashed it clear. And now a counter attack with Kharja, Alvarez, Okaka through the middle. Borough have Catamol down, and it's not just Catamol, they're falling like flies. Catamol is up again.
Yeah, well, Downing, this came at him very quickly from Pogatet, and he tries to help it on its way. I think, is it a clash of heads with Decor? I think it could have been. And as Catamol tried to tidy it up, he just catches an elbow to the face. And the annoyance from Pogatet in the end was because Roma tried to play on and wouldn't put the ball out when Borough had two players on the floor.
We've got two players with headaches now, but they're a quarter of an hour or so away from a standout result here. Not a decisive result, you'd have to say that, but a result that gives them a real chance. Panucci, Okaka, Alvarez. He's clever, this boy, but he's hit his cross against Boateng. One of those neat feet sort of wingers, the Honduran, who can tease and sometimes infuriate. Kharja's corner. Came out to Perrotta. He wasn't all that close.
Oh, so Kaka was the one that made the run. See, nobody's picked him up, and he gets a free jump at it, and I don't know why he didn't make contact.
Born to Nigerian parents in Perugia, Stefano Okaka. Comes from great sporting stock. His father, Austin, was a striker of some note. And his mother, Doris, ran the 100 metres very quickly, internationally. Pantamol hit it against the referee, whose intervention may turn out to be key here. As Karja plays it forward, Riggott picks the referee out of trouble. Dakor slightly misplaces his header. Mexes under pressure from Yakubu, and Dakor almost back to base. Hasn't stopped raining all evening, still lashing down here. Mexes, out by Southgate, taken up again by Dakor, Kufre. Very clear intent here from Roma, they want their away goal. And what a difference it would make to the dynamic of the tie. In by Kufre. Alvarez! And Schwarzer got a good strong hand on it. Splendid goalkeeping from the Australian. Karja would appear to have handled there. Schwarzer excelled. It was a save, and more than a save. He went the extra mile, Mark Schwarzer. Effected a clearance of sorts. Under pressure again now from Alvarez. The referee's assistant saw a hand. This is top-rate goalkeeping.
I agree with you totally, because I think he knows there's a couple of Roma players on rushing, and he has to get some sort of distance on the palm away, otherwise it's just going to spill and give him every chance of an opportunity. I think it's a cracking save.
Look at that, look at the very deliberate spooning of the ball away, the lifting of it. It was more than a parry. The line from Pogatetz.
I think there's going to be a substitution. Looks like Viduka is coming on. Not surprised, because I think Steve McLaren would just like to see his side hold it up. He's somebody who can do that for you.
Oh, Alain Sarr has taken a while to decide that the ball went behind from Yakubu then. Borough waiting to throw on Mark Viduka for the remaining 10 minutes. And you've got a shot there of the weather. It's worse than it's ever been this evening here now. It is a nasty, nasty night on Teesside. The pitch is suffering as a result, but the Middlesbrough fans are in no sense dampened. Thrilled though as they were by Yakubu's cool first-half penalty, and delighted as they were on Saturday by Viduka's expert finish against Birmingham. The Australian gets the last 10 minutes.
That's him at his best. It was a fantastic goal, wasn't it?
Long from Pogatetz. Viduka handled their blind side of the referee and got away with it and played it in for Mendieta! Oh! Almost too much time.
Well, you never know what's going to happen yet tonight, but that could be costly come next week. But I mean, I thought it was going to be penalised by Viduka. It's a difficult one for him to control, and he clearly used his left hand to get the ball on the ground. But he picks the pass well, and I mean, this is just an awful finish, isn't it, from Mendieta? I mean, once he got into that position, he should be looking to dispatch it faster.
The man once of Lazio had Roma in his sights. What a difference that would have made. Boateng. Panucci. Boateng couldn't take it. Here is Alvarez. Away from Pogatetz. In for Karja, pursued by Okaka. Pogatetz was strong. Steve McLaren, by the way, was on his way down from the stand to the dugout when Gaizka Mendieta had that golden opportunity and missed it.
He's making a habit of missing things. Didn't he miss one in Stuttgart as well?
Alvarez with the ball in. There is a sense in which justice was done because Viduka did very obviously handle in the approach.
But they did the right thing. They didn't kind of hang around asking questions. Got on with it. If the referee doesn't blow, so be it.
Roma's only defeat of the UEFA Cup campaign so far was in Belgrade during the group stage. It required them to beat Bâle in their final group match to squeak through. And ultimately it landed them with Champions League dropouts in the round of 32, but they brushed aside Bruges. And now they're behind here to Middlesbrough, whose only defeat was here 2 weeks ago against Stuttgart. The man waiting to come on for Roma there is Alberto Aquilani. An excellent, dynamic, attacking midfield player. Roman by birth, only 21 years old. A sort of Francesco Totti understudy. And a replacement here for the excellent Olivier Dacour.
Yeah, that's not a bad reflection on Dacour's performance. It's just a case of the coach needing something a little more positive at this stage, not a holding player.
Panucci's free kick. The header was a clean one. That would have been a fair introduction to the game.
What a first touch. That's why he's on. I mean, didn't he score against Lazio in the Rome derby very recently? Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Difficult. I mean, he's quite a long way. He has to try and generate a lot of power.
He is one of those arrive late in the box type midfield players who gets his share of goals. 5 this season. Foul on Hasselbank. Karja the offender. Middlesbrough 6 minutes away from a very good result. 1 goal shy of a truly excellent one.
That's why they have to really make full use of opportunities like this now, because they've been so limited second half.
Downing's free kick. Come out to Mendieta. Last touch was that of Koufre. Mendieta, who played in the Lazio team of Stam and Nestor and Claudio Lopez and Hernan Crespo. With the throw for which Viduka showed. Drifted in towards Downing. Cleared as far as Catamol. Who at least gets a corner and was bold enough to have a shy. I like him, he's getting rave reviews. Youth team player until December. Now almost the first team must pick.
He's got one big heart.
Downing's outswing. Oh, the header from Pogatetz was close.
Does ever so well. I mean, brave to get something on it. Good little dart to the near post. He and Davis.
Emmanuel Pogatetz had 3 wobbly minutes towards the start of the second half. That aside, he has been essentially solidity itself. Panucci. Downing played it last off Perrotta.
Just look back on that Mendieta chance though. I mean, how badly would he have wanted that? You just wonder with, you know, his history of being at Lazio, and he wanted it too much and just kind of got lost in the moment.
Catamol. That was a good observation, Jim. Would have meant an awful lot to him. It's funny how people do get caught up in the hype of a particular game. This is a man, Gaizka Mendieta, who has played in a couple of Champions League finals, and who was still quoted somewhere this week as saying, "This is one of the biggest games I've ever played in." Well, here's Viduka. Good feet, and an excellent tackle from Mexes. A truly outstanding tackle. Mendieta wants to get it back, he's that hungry.
I've been impressed by him tonight, Mexes. I know he's had a lot of difficulty in Italy himself because he was hotly sought after when he was at Auxerre, but I think he does well here. And there's no complaint whatsoever from Viduka, you know. He just gets up and gets on with it. That's an excellent tackle by the Frenchman.
That is the tackle that no Birmingham City centre-half found in themselves when Viduka was running at them at the weekend.
There's been a coolness about him all night. He just seems to have kind of bought himself a little more time on occasion, and you know, he stood out at times, Mexes.
His second season since coming to Roma from Auxerre. Boateng's free kick, and Kurci has dropped it under pressure from Viduka, although I'm bound to say that Kuffour was closer to the goalkeeper than Mark Viduka.
The only thing is, I mean, Viduka has a little look and he's aware the goalkeeper's coming, and he doesn't do much there, does he?
I'm sorry, but where is the foul here? How is that a foul?
I mean, the referee has made a few peculiar decisions tonight.
It's as if, and in a way you understand, it's as if he decided it was going to be a foul before it occurred. Catamol has won it for Mendieta. Viduka, that is a scything challenge from Mexes, who has to expect to go into the book for that, and will.
Typical, as soon as I praise him, he goes and does something like that. No real need. It's a silly booking to pick up.
He's another one who needs a series of good games, another one who's on the fringe of the French World Cup squad. He's an unused sub last week.
He knows he's not in real trouble either, and Viduka's taking the ball wide. He just needs to stand his ground and pursue it.
How ambitious do Middlesbrough want to be with a set piece 90 seconds from time? Downing with whip, too close to the keeper. How keen are Roma to find themselves an away goal? Well, Roma are on the sort of run, and Spalletti will be banking on this, in which they would expect to be able to turn round the 1-0 deficit when they get back to their own ground with more of their own spectators. There's a guy in the middle there who's singularly unimpressed. Karja. Perotta looking to turn.
I think should it stay like this, Peter, I think Borough will have deserved it. I think they've done enough to get a narrow win tonight. Could have been a little better, but still anyone's game, isn't it? And they will point to a very good away record this season. I think the only goal they've conceded was at Stuttgart.
That's right.
In 4.
They have conceded only 2 Stuttgart in this competition. 2 conceded in very nearly 9 complete games in the UEFA Cup, but lifted in by Kuffour, out by Pogatetz. Karja. Perotta. Aimed in towards Mancini, who, apparently from Middlesbrough's point of view, didn't make contact.
Do you know, it looked as if he kind of got there. I thought he could have been a little braver, but maybe he felt he was going to get clattered here, because he reads it well. I think he could have put his leg towards that and try and help it on.
Panucci. Roma's 200th game of European football will be the return against Middlesbrough in the Stadio Olimpico. They have the nous and the experience to know what a difference an away goal would make. Middlesbrough, with a fraction of that corporate experience, are still aware enough to be keen to deny them it. And indeed, if they can, to build on their lead. But a foul by Boateng has given Borough what may be their last defensive test, for which Franck Kadru is going to come on. In place of Downing, it's a change to eat up time. And I guess for what it's worth in the remaining minute and a bit to reinforce defensively. Feeling his way back, Stuart Downing. This would have been a real test of fitness tonight on sapping surface. Kedru has to have his right head on now for the minute he is required to play. In by Kaja, up got Mexes. Protection from Catamol, and it's spun kindly for Schwarzer, and that ought to be that now.
I think the goalkeeper will be very relieved that didn't come at him more quickly.
Still perhaps time for Kaja. And Mancini! It's a ticklish little test for Schwarzer.
Well, again, I think he'll be glad that it was at him, because he's backpedaled quickly, Schwarzer, and I think he did see it coming at him quite soon. He was always likely to get behind it.
Aquilani dives. Catamol stays with him. Aquilani goes over. 3 minutes stoppage time is up. Referee blows. Excellent. Very, very few results in the long history of Middlesbrough Football Club will rank alongside a 1-0 victory over the crack side from Serie A, AS Roma. Steve McLaren puffs his chest out, as do 25,000 Teessiders. Roma, who have won this season at Inter Milan, at AC Milan, at Juventus, have just gone and lost at Middlesbrough, courtesy of a penalty won by Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank and converted by Yakubu. Gareth Southgate led the team with great pluck and great pride, and Middlesbrough have given themselves a mighty big chance for when they travel to the Stadio Olimpico in a fortnight from now. It is good. It is very good, Matt. The question is it good enough? Middlesbrough have a 1-0 first leg lead.
They do indeed. Thank you to Peter and to Jim. They have a lead to defend in the Eternal City next week. Next from us, reaction to that 1-0 win from Robbie here, and of course from downstairs here at the Riverside. Stay with us. It's with Gabriel.
Jimmy, Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal, now you've beaten Europe's form team. How good a performance is that?
I think we played very well. We didn't give one chance away, and we created a few chances. And yeah, we were 90 minutes in control. They had a lot of the ball, but they didn't make problems for us. And yeah, everybody was so focused and so determined that yeah, we really wanted it today.
Is it fair to say the wise old head won that penalty? Out of the corner of one eye, you saw the goalie coming.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, you see the goalie coming, and yeah, you know that you have got a really small angle to shoot. So the only opportunity was for me to dribble, and to be fair, he touched me, and yeah, I couldn't keep my balance, so I had to do what I had to do.
What about at the end, guys? Commendieta, because maybe we're being greedy to say, you know, we should have had more than 1-0 tonight. But what do you think? About
yeah, we should, but our pitch is not the best. So Mendy has a phenomenal control and phenomenal technique. So I think I would give the pitch the fault on this.
Who are the favourites then for this tie? You take a 1-0 lead to Rome. How confident do you feel now?
Well, I think we are very confident, but the tie is not over, far from over. We still have a lot of work to do. They are a very good side, and I think we are in the right direction, but it's far from over.
Well done tonight, great performance.
Thank you very much.
Jimmy, always worth listening to, always worth watching. In fact, he also had a decent second half chance to make it 2-0. It is being slightly greedy, but it just would have been a nice cushion 2-0.
It was, but I think he's got it in contact. It's an impressive performance, you know, to go 1-0 up and as the way that they did. But we're just thinking, you know, we're sitting in, we want it all, don't we? We want a second to give him the comfort. And as the ball's rolling to Mendieta, I'm thinking, perfect. It could be no one better. And then, whether the pitch doesn't help him, I don't think the touch particularly helps him either. he kind of has to rush the shot a little bit. The ball bobbles up and it's high, wide and handsome. And this is Jimmy at his best for me, when he does nothing more than just give it sheer violence.
Yeah.
It's one of those health warning shots, isn't it? Get out of the way if you can. But he was lively today. He looked really up for the game, and see the big smile in his face that he was pleased with his performance.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the best really that Roma mustered in terms of chances in the second half was a cross-com shot, I suppose, and a long-range effort.
Yeah, they had possession, but they never really opened Middlesbrough up, and that will please Steve McClaren. We're saying that they work the ball once or twice, and I think it's Alvarez who knocks across, and Schwarzer does ever so well because you can see the players are coming in on him.
Is it deflecting, in fact, as we watch it?
It does get a touch of deflecting, and
a hand,
he gets it up and he gets it away, and he buys time for his defenders, and that's good goalkeeping. And we're now talking about that they're shooting from 30 yards.
Yeah.
To me, that means that Middlesbrough are in control of the game, and there wasn't that much there to worry them. Having said that, Roma will be a different prospect on their home pitch.
Yes, just a reminder of the goal that settled the game.
Yeah, and it was all about know-how. He said, you see the keeper come in the corner now, you slow down, you wait for him to come, and you make sure there's contact. And Jimmy does it all. Yakubu, as he says, in supreme form. Never a doubt that it was going in, and I'm pleased that they got the one. Would have loved to see a second.
I'm sure Steve McClaren would. Here he is downstairs with Gabriel.
Steve, you've beaten Europe's form team. How good a performance was that?
Excellent performance. A great European performance, full of experience, and for 90 minutes full of concentration, discipline, and got the early goal. Bought it well, Jimmy, and got it. And we said, as long as we defend well, keep the clean sheet, there's always chances for getting a second. I was a little disappointed that we didn't.
Guys came out after. I think you missed it when it happened. You're on your way down from up top, but you've seen it. What a chance.
We had a few in the game, and we knew we would. And that's the concentration at the back as much as at the front. When you get the opportunity, you've got to take it. We didn't. We got a 1-0 advantage. Half a job done. Difficult now going to Rome.
Do you feel your favourites? Narrow favourites, though?
No, I think the tie is very evenly balanced. But perfect, clean sheet, it gives you that extra goal, and we're capable of scoring away from home. We beat Stuttgart, that should give us confidence, and there's a great spirit in that dressing room, and you saw that tonight. Great willingness to get that clean sheet, but also some great attacking play, and the second would have been icing on the cake.
Great performance tonight, though. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Coaches always want more, don't they? Always. 2-0 would have been lovely, as we've said. But he'll take 1-0, won't he?
Yeah, and especially when the way the game went in Roma attacked, that's when Middlesbrough actually looked dangerous on the counter-attack. And that may just be the situation in Rome that they'll look for. And with the likes of Jimmy, Yakubu, you've got Viduka, Mendieta pulling the strings. There's enough there to give you hope that they can go and get a goal. And
you sound quietly confident. I like that.
I do. I think against big teams are up for it, and it'll come no bigger than Stadium next week.
That's right, the Olympic. We look forward to it. Thanks to Robbie, as always. So, the boxing next with Joe Calzaghe on top of the world. Middlesbrough in the box seat here. They may yet, though, have to roll with the punches in Rome. Night from us.